पहले आपने गूगल हेड किया, फिर आपने गोआईबीबो बनाया, फिर आपने पेयू बनाया, फिर आपने रेडबस बनाया, फिर अब INDmoney बना रहे हो. Where do you get the energy? Are you satisfied? Are you done?
There are people जिनको कुछ भी करने में मजा नहीं आता. Personally for me जो मेरे को मजा आता है, let's solve problems यार. Most entrepreneurs, people like you and me, enjoy solving problems.
अब जो INDmoney की कहानी है, did it start with this only? कि there was a problem that you were facing?
If I can invest in a Hindustan Lever, why can't I invest in a Google, Facebook, and all of these companies which we are using every day? There's a bit of selfishness कि I'm able to relate to the problem और एक बारी I'm able to relate to the problem, then I say यार इसको अगर हम solve करेंगे, will it benefit me?
How do you decide what business to start? Do you have like a playbook or mental model?
The wearer only knows where the shoe pinches, right? We don't not just need to solve the problem of making Google, Facebook, Apple, Meta, all of these companies accessible via fractional investing. We also need to make these companies accessible in terms of moving money.
The first 60 students who joined us, they took a huge risk. Because at that time, not only were we not there on any rankings, we were also not there on Google Maps.
That happens in every startup. In each of the ventures, there would be days I would say, yaar, kya kar rahe? Those are the self-doubt days which you would get every second day. You got to be honest to yourself, but at the same time, you have to be thick-skinned and resilient, right? Because when you're building, there will be more people discouraging you and pulling you down than encouraging you.
Thank you so much for giving us time today. I know we've been pursuing you for almost a year, but finally we got your time. But I hope it wasn't too far for you from where you are.
No, I think firstly, what you guys are building and what you have built, and you kind of co-created this university with all of them. It's just incredible.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much.
So a big hand to all of you.
You know, when we started, the first 60 students who joined us, they took a huge risk. Because at that time, not only were we not there on any rankings, we were also not there on Google Maps. Right? And yet they took a chance. I think that's how the journey started. But I want to ask you so many questions today. Right? And the first thing I want to ask you, कि आपका पेट क्यों नहीं भरता कभी? कि पहले आपने गूगल हेड किया, फिर आपने गोआईबीबो बनाया, फिर आपने पेयू बनाया, फिर आपने रेडबस बनाया, फिर अब INDmoney बना रहे हो. All of these are essentially household names, right? तो मतलब where do you get the energy? Are you satisfied? Are you done? इसके बाद कुछ और भी है? क्या कर रहे हो यार?
So मैं सवाल आपसे पूछूंगा कि बिल्डिंग के बाद बिल्डिंग क्यों बनाया जा रहा है? पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट कोर्स के बाद अंडर ग्रेजुएट क्यों बना रहे हो? Right? And I don't know if it's confidential or not. You're launching a law course also, right? So
confidential था, but चलो कोई बात नहीं.
So I think इसको ना एक और तरीके से देखते हैं. It's really के there are people जिनको कुछ भी करने में मजा नहीं आता और some people really enjoy chilling. अगर आज की डेट में if I talk to the Gen Zs, a lot of people say that यार मेरे को chill करना है. Right? The biggest, by the way, grouse in my company today's date is work-life balance. We'll talk about it in a bit. But if you ask me personally, for me, जो मेरे को मजा आता है, let's solve problems यार. If there are fundamental problems, लोगों को होटल बुकिंग आराम से नहीं हो रहा, लोगों को अगर आप लोग एप्पल, गूगल, you guys are using every day, but you can't invest. ये सारी कंपनीज हमारे यहाँ से इतनी वैल्यू डिराइव कर रहे हैं. I want to give that opportunity to myself and to all of you to also create value out of them. No. So I think it's about fundamentally solving problems. And the minute you think about that, तो फिर मजा आता है.
And then you get invested.
You get invested. जैसे अभी कोई किसी को बड़ा मजा आता है गोल्फ खेलने में, तो बोलते हैं रिटायर हो जाओ, गोल्फ खेलो, उसको मजा आता है, बढ़िया है. I think most entrepreneurs, people like you and me, I don't want to generalize, enjoy solving problems. So I think that's what keeps me going every day.
Got it. But how do you decide what business to start? Do you have like a playbook or mental model? कि यार ये धंधा करेंगे जिसका टैम इतना है, जिसका ये इतना है, ये इतना है. कि do you start with the problem कि यार मेरे को टिकट बुक करनी थी, नहीं हो रही थी, तो मैंने बना दी कंपनी.
Yeah, I think सबसे पहली बात तो I should feel good about the problem. मतलब मेरे को I should be able to, the wearer only knows where the shoe pinches, right? I should be able to relate to the problem. Very difficult for me. अगर आज की डेट में अगर मेरे को कोई बोले कि एक लॉ यूनिवर्सिटी बना दे, आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिलेट टू द प्रॉब्लम. हाँ भाई क्यों बनाऊँ, मेरे को खुद की पर्सनल पेन एरिया है या नहीं. आई थिंक देयर इज अ बिट ऑफ सेल्फिशनेस कि आई एम एबल टू रिलेट टू द प्रॉब्लम और एक बार आई एम एबल टू रिलेट टू द प्रॉब्लम, देन आई से यार इसको अगर हम solve करेंगे, will it benefit people? Will they be able to derive value out of it? That is really the hypothesis. And then उसके बाद आता है TAM. Obviously आपको अपना time नहीं waste करना कुछ छोटा सा बनाने के लिए. अगर कुछ बनाना है तो it should impact millions of people. और अगर आप for profit बना रहे हो तो economics भी ठीक होने चाहिए उस business के. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि आप कुछ बनाने निकल रहे हो लेकिन उसकी कोई economics नहीं है. So I think those come into the picture. But सबसे पहले यार problem बढ़िया है.
Should be personal. There should be some personal connection with the problem.
And also इसमें एक और चीज़ मैं बोलूँगा, many times क्या होता है, जैसे अगर प्रथम would go first time and say मेरे को एक यूनिवर्सिटी बनानी है, ठीक है, पहले दिन, and I'm sure you can relate to it. तो he comes and say मेरे को यूनिवर्सिटी बनानी है, and he talks to people around him, very educated people. So first answer वो बोलेंगे तू पागल हो गया, हजारों यूनिवर्सिटीज पढ़ी हैं, तू क्यों बनाना चाहता है? That's the answer you would get, right?
100%.
And the reality is that while there are tens and thousands of people and players and institutions and platforms, are they able to solve the problem? And I think that's also an important thing, because अगर आप देखो, अगर आप Goibibo देखो, INDmoney देखो, ऐसा नहीं है that we are the first ones which is giving an investment and personal finance management solution. But were people solving a problem effectively or not? So I think that's also a very important barometer to check.
And so let's go back to Goibibo now, right? I wanted to understand that on your LinkedIn, everything was Goibibo Group.
Yeah.
PayU was Goibibo Group.
Redbus
was Goibibo Group, right? Can you explain what that structure was like and how like one startup became a group of companies, and then what led to finally the merger?
Yeah.
Like what was sort of that strategic thought or that?
Yeah,
arc?
look, the storyline is pretty simple. So I'm sure some of you guys must have used Goibibo, the OTA, right? So when we were building Goibibo, the first problem we saw was payment fail हो रही है. We used to use at that time एक payment gateway CC Avenue. So CC Avenue we would use, तो payment fail होती रहती थी. तो आप गए, आपको दिल्ली से बॉम्बे जाना है और आपको दिख रहा है रेट 3,500 रुपये और आपका पेमेंट फेल हो गया तो पीछे से प्राइस बढ़ जाती है. यू गाइज अंडरस्टैंड द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ एयर टिकटिंग, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल. तो
अच्छा, ये एक्चुअली होता है?
होता था. आई थिंक आई एम श्योर नाउ थिंग्स आर स्टेबलर, राइट? Still happens.
That's the third time you search the same thing, price bar.
It doesn't happen on Goibibo. It shouldn't happen. So then I try to understand what's happening. So basically, I understood we are using these payment gateways. By the way, Razorpay is very good, right? We use Razorpay right now, much better than these incumbents. I don't know how BillDesk performs right now, but what these payment gateways or aggregators do is they connect to multiple banks. तो अगर आप HDFC बैंक में हो, आपको Goibibo को पैसे देने हैं, so the payment aggregator will orchestrate between these banks and give me money, right? So it's really API connections happening between the bank and me as a merchant, right? And those, tech was still immature, and those would break. As a result, checkout pay success rates of payment was 60%, which is horrible, right? So I said, यार अगर हम इस, और हमने पता किया मेक माई ट्रिप और ये यात्रा वगैरह जो भी इनकम्बेंट्स थे, इनका क्या है सक्सेस रेट. सो मोस्ट ऑफ दीज गाइज हैड सक्सेस रेट सिमिलर, बिकॉज सब भी तो यही सेम ही चीज़ यूज़ कर रहे थे. ऐसा कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं था. somebody may have a better retry mechanism or something. And we realized that अगर इस 60 को 80 कर दें, so we went deep into it, क्या हो रहा है. So if we can make this 60 to 80, right, then this is a game changer. हमारा our CAC to ARPU ratios would be amazing. The flywheel would work beautifully, right? Just by doing this one simple thing. And but उसको करने के लिए क्या करना होगा? We'll have to build our own payment system. So I was slightly crazier then. Now I'm a little more thoughtful. So I said बनाते हैं, फिर बना लेते हैं. So then उसके बाद हम banks के पास गए. Banks ने बोला हम तो we're not going to listen to you. So फिर समझ आए कि इनको fixed deposits चाहिए हमसे. So we started keeping little fixed deposit, bank by bank, and then we wired this up. So not only that 60 became 80, it actually became 85%. That was a game changer for us. So we were able to do it for ourselves. So we said, why don't we do this for the third-party merchants? So then that's how PayU happened. And that's how the payments business happened.
You were heading Google, and I'm sure that was a great role which allowed you to be at the ground floor of something amazing. And then you decided to start up. And one of the questions I know everybody here has, and it's something that they grapple with every day, is, when they finish their MBA, everybody wants to start up. Everyone has a founder DNA, that's why they're here. But then there's also this pressure, ki yaar nahi, job, market, this, that, all of that, right? So I want to understand from you, what advice would you give, or what framework would you give for people to make decisions on how they should think about their careers, given what you did?
Yeah, look, let me be honest. Google was a very depressing experience for me.
Acha, wow, okay.
Okay, and why? There were, of course, lots of learnings. Why? Because first thing I realized, this is back in the day, right? Like some of you were not even born. I don't know. You must have been born, right? 2000.
Many, some were not actually.
So
2005, 6?
2004, 5. Okay, right.
Some undergrads here were not, yeah.
Right.
I can see.
So it was quite. I was quite shocked to see the level of innovation happening in the valley and nothing happening in India. That was the first thing.
I said that's why it was depressing.
Yeah, it was very depressing, right? Like the level of thinking and innovation happening at that time in US, in the valley. You are in Mountain View or you're in Sunnyvale, like action ho raha tha, matlab proper. Jaise abhi, I'm sure you guys would be feeling this buzz in this whole campus. When you guys sit in a coffee shop, you're discussing, yaar, ye problem solve karni hai. I want to get people to get organic coffee on demand, right? So these kind of conversations are going on.
Not that idea, by the way.
Example. Okay, so these kind of conversations are going on. People are solving problems and setting up startups. Whereas India, a lot of people coming out of university were not even thinking कि कुछ बनाना है. Everybody was saying कि, I want to join Microsoft, or I want to join some software services company like Infosys,
Satyam,
and all of these companies, right?
Have you guys heard of Satyam? So you have.
तो सब लोग यही बोल रहे हैं, हाँ नौकरी लग जाए, ऐसी बातें हो रही हैं, right? So it was very depressing, number one, for me, from that point of view. Of course, there was lots of learnings, and I knew that the country is not going to get to the inflection point, but it was very elusive, by the way. So हम सब लोग सोच रहे थे 2008-9 में India tech will become big. Didn't happen. 2011, so lots of companies got created, lots of companies died during this phase. There was various company names which don't even exist right now. Finally, internet in India actually really happened in 2017, 16, 17, I think geo costs coming down and so on and so forth, right? So long story short, for me, that was one. Second is that what I realized ki yaar, if you want to learn, you want to be creating the core. And core gets created in a nucleus of a company, right? Uske baad everybody else is, somebody is distributing, somebody is marketing, somebody is selling, somebody is doing something or doing some quality control.
They're not building.
They're not building the core. And core action in these companies was happening in a nucleus team, right?
In Silicon Valley.
So hum log to like, basically we're like some representatives of the company. So you won't learn anything, right? To be honest, it's obviously very sexy. I work for Google, I work for Microsoft, I work for Airbnb. But इतना समझ आ गया था मुझे कि यार I will not create any impact. Salary अच्छी है, ESOPs भी अच्छे हैं, वो सब तो ठीक है. But you won't create impact.
But sorry, I'll just push you on this a little bit. This is a great point, to be close to the core where the innovation, the action is happening. But when I'm just finishing college, मेरे को कोई core में लेगा क्यों?
No, but I don't think it's about it's no more about years of experience, etc. anymore, right? अगर I don't want to name anyone here, but अगर आप देखो people that I work with right now, somebody who may have 20 years of experience versus 3, वो immaterial हो गया बिल्कुल. The 3 years experienced person is able to create 10x more impact. Maybe the 20 years of experienced person is in a very different stage of life cycle, is in existence, right? Not learning anything, all kinds of other external issues and problems, right? So it's completely changed, right? Like ek time hota tha, we would say, I want a person with 15 years of experience. I think that completely has changed.
This is incredibly important. Please remember this, what he just said.
Yeah. So I think to your other question, my suggestion given that they are also getting exposed to a very entrepreneurial education system, please do not work for a very large multinational company, you won't learn unless you're going to go and work in their core LLM or AI systems. You learn nothing sitting here in India, or you learn very less. If you want to really learn, work with companies which are solving core problems here and participate in solving those problems, right? Anyone who works with companies like us, any product manager, any engineer, he's of course their grouse is कि यार work life balance नहीं है यार, चीज़ें मतलब ये संडे को भी कुछ हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है. Those are the I would say the negative NPS. But everybody, one common thing you will hear from people who have worked with me over the last decade is कि यार learning is 10x, 20x, 30x. And at the end of the day, you want to learn faster. If you learn faster, you'll be able to iterate faster and you'll be able to create impact. Tomorrow, you want to create your own startup, you will increase chances of success. If you're working in that startup or that company which is solving a problem, it could be solving a global problem sitting in India, could be solving a problem for India, for Bharat, whatever. You want to work in that core nucleus for sure.
So I want to talk about the future now a little bit, right? I get a lot of FOMO that there is so much happening in Silicon Valley with AI, with genetic engineering. There is this new technique which essentially allows you to change your genetic structure in real time, and it's there, right? Elon Musk is building that Neuralink, and I'm thinking like, how far are we from people actually downloading an MB into their brain? I don't think that far, to be honest. And we are sitting here in India, and sometimes that FOMO really gives me the chills, right? So I want to understand, what do you think about the future? How that's going to change? Where does India stand in all of this? Are we going to be 10, 20, 30 years always behind Silicon Valley?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think first is that we should be honest to ourselves, right? We can keep saying कि कुछ कर देंगे, but we have to be honest that there are certain core technologies which we have not built ever. Chips, for example, और ना ही हम बनाएंगे. Either they'll have chips from Taiwan or it'll have whatever.
Design in the US.
Design in US. कोई है नहीं है ना. Same thing with mobile phones. So the fact that we have missed the core LLM AI bus or all of this stuff that you're talking about, we should be honest to each other.
तो core तो miss कर दिया है, बार-बार.
ठीक है. So we have to be firstly honest कि यार like there's a lot of people complain, they're crying and all of that. Now some people are saying government ने resource नहीं दिया, ये नहीं दिया. Because see, every country, every child, every startup evolves in its own way. So that's my first view that listen, this is reality, let's be honest to ourselves, right? Like let's say if somebody says, yeah, I'm going to build this best LLM, which is going to help people get educated. I mean, stupid, right? We missed that bus. I don't know whether we'll catch the GPU bus or not.
I think that's also...
Yeah, but I think, yeah, so, but then what we have to look at it is now from positively. Okay, yaar, how can I adopt this very quickly to solve problems? The problems were difficult to solve, now I'll be able to solve faster, better, easier, right? For example, in our industry, if financial advice was only for the super rich, or if family office management was only for the super, super rich, Ambani and whatever, can one use AI to democratize it, right? As an example, right? So I think that is what we need to, end up thinking that let's embrace these aggressively, let's utilize them aggressively to solve those same problems which we were planning to solve.
But at the core, I mean, so now someone looking to start a company, what should be the top 5 ideas that they should be working on, or the top 5 industries or sectors?
Yeah, look. So my view is that they need to look at. So there are typically 2 types of or 3 types of customers in my mind, or actually 2 types, right? There's a normal customer, and then there is an institutional customer. Institutional customer can be government, companies, etc., right? So these are the 2 customers, and these customers typically will have fundamental problems which one needs to solve. I think if you see the way how we would all think of consumer businesses during this whole era of evolution of internet, mobile, etc., was through a GUI. तो हम ऐसे सोचते थे कि हाँ एक ऐप होगी dhobighat.com, ठीक है, वो मेरा अपने आप लॉन्ड्री सर्विस उठ जाएगी, वो चले जाएगा, मैं उसकी नेविगेशन ऐसे करूँगा. I think that needs to be rethought. in all probability, mobile apps will get disrupted. Data pipelines and agent tech will happen, right? So a lot of you guys, if I were thinking today, I would think agentic. How can we use LLMs for agents to take action, which I would have had to put a lot of laborious hours. So as an example, अगर आपको आज की डेट में अपने taxes file करने हैं, it's a very laborious thing to do. Even for a chartered accountant, it's laborious, and the chartered accountant will make 100 mistakes if your income is outside of Form 16. How can we use agentic to solve these problems? So I think that's how you would kind of want to think about how can you make enterprises more productive if it is on the enterprise side. How can you help them automate faster? That's the direction. I think we need to in our minds rethink user journeys, user flows, designs, interfaces. We'll have to rethink. I don't think mobile app interfaces will exist.
How are you changing INDmoney for that future?
Yeah, we're trying, right? Because look, unlike you guys, we do still have some bit of history, right? So it's not that easy. But
inertia.
But we have kind of started embedding a lot of LLM into our product to be able to enable you. I don't know if anyone of you uses it, but in fact, our entire customer service is now driven by an AI chatbot, which I think every company has done. It's a pretty simple thing to do. But other than that, we are doing things like enabling you to get financial advice, enabling you to take actions.
I want to open it up to the audience now.
Yeah, sure.
Folks, all right, so I'll call you out, say your name, what you're studying, and then ask your question. Keep it as short as possible and try to speak into the mic, all right, and wait for it till it comes to you.
You've built some great ventures. And my question was that which one of your startups gave you the hardest nights of self-doubt? And how did you, what was the self-doubt and how did you come over that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the journey is pretty like I don't know what to call the curve, right? But it's almost like very volatile.
Sine curve.
No, volatile, right? So on one day, even today, by the way, one day you feel, yeah, what am I doing? I'm making some big mistake. And then another day you say, I'm winning it, right? And typically, I guess that happens in every startup, right? I think in each of the ventures, there would be days I would say, yaar, kya kar rahe? What are we doing? In fact, I don't know if Priyank is in this room, but I would say, yaar, ye karna hai, ye Indian trading banana hai ya nahi banana? Kyun kar rahe hum? Band kar do na. Let's focus, right? Okay, so those are the self-doubt days which you would get every second day. But then there are days of highs, right? Yeah, I think really you got to be honest to yourself. You can't be dishonest to yourself while building, but at the same time, you have to be thick-skinned and resilient, right? Because when you're building, there will be more people discouraging you and pulling you down than encouraging you. I think those, obviously everybody wants to negatively comment. That's very easy to do. But for us, what at least energizes me and keeps me going every day is when consumers really say, listen, I love your app. It's solving this problem for me. I loved what you did. Just today we had 6 tweets of different emotions being demonstrated by users. I think that energizes me. Or let's say Google Play and iOS pe jab log likhte hain, they write negative also, right? So I think that's super energizing and that keeps you going. But it is like you'll have self-doubts, right? There'll be days you'll say nothing is working, everything is broken. But then there'll be days we'll feel, yaar, ye to ab I'm capturing the world, right? So that's how it's very, very volatile. I guess I can't generalize, it happened across companies. The current venture has been harder, I'll be honest. The reason it's harder is because we have larger audience now at the stages, and then there are these regulations also at play. So there's another dimension to it beyond competition, market, timing, is also regulation. And we got to be conscious, right? I don't want to kind of push it back. For example, I remember we started the company saying that let's leverage influencers to educate about our product. It needs education. But we were pulled back by saying, no, you guys cannot use influencers as a financial services, as a investing company or as a wealth management company. So yeah, so I think this one is hard, but you honestly forget. You forget the bad times. We've had bad times in the past also, right?
Hi, Ashish. It's interesting that you might not remember, but we've exchanged a few emails while I was at my previous organization. I used to work for Lendbox, a P2P NBFC. I dropped you a cold mail and you responded back pretty quickly. So thank you for that one. I have two parts to this question. One is, what are your views on SIF, the new product launched by SEBI? And second would be that what kind of trajectory INDmoney is moving towards, and what kind of licenses do you see yourself probably taking? Probably mutual fund, AMC license, or PMS or AIF?
Yeah, I think let me first answer the second question. So in my view, there are enough mutual funds manufacturers there. And if I were to go and manufacture another mutual fund, I'm not solving a problem. मतलब ऐसा तो है नहीं कि कोई मैं म्यूचुअल फंड खरीदता हूँ आदित्य बिरला का या पराग पारेख का तो कुछ हो जाता है खराब. आई हैवंट सीन एनीथिंग लाइक इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट एयर टिकटिंग एग्जांपल, राइट. एंड ऑल्सो मैं उसमें कुछ ऐसा कोई झंडे भी नहीं गाड़ सकता बिकॉज इट्स वेरी रेगुलेटेड अगेन, राइट. So I could be wrong, right? Because but I don't see ourselves kind of launching a mutual funds manufacturing. But on the other hand, I would look at some specialized manufacturing, right? Which could be for a certain cohort of audiences. So hence, I'm not saying no to AMC, which is the question, but I would say I'm not too sure about mutual fund. Today's date, we have close to 2.5 million active investors on our app. If this was 25 to 30 million investors, I would have a different thinking, because then I would say investors are already there. Why should they buy Parag Parekh? I'll give them the solution, right? But I don't know how the regulator looks at it, because at least in the SEBI versus RBI, both the regulators saying keep the two things very separate. Your next question is on licenses. We've had to go through that, as I said, take one license after the other. We've learned that we should not live on borrowed licenses. We should be licensed, first party regulated. So we've done the US stocks license out of Gift City, IFSCA, where we had to actually also educate the regulator about the whole thing. We had to educate because there was a lot of concern that the money would go out of India. And government doesn't like that, neither does RBI like it. But when we showed them data that भाई पैसे जा रहे हैं, but imagine कैसे वापस भी आ रहे हैं, because it's a closed loop system. Since you use our app, you would know. It will come back to your same account, right? That the government loved, that the regulator loved, by the way. That's our license as a securities intermediary in IFSCA Gift, which is, by the way, everybody knows Gift City, IFSCA. You should also look at that from a university point of view. Very interesting space. Okay. Then the second is the securities license we have in the domestic side, and then we just got a RBI NBFC license for doing lending against mutual funds and shares ourselves. Right now we do it with a couple of banks and a couple of intermediaries. And then there are a couple of other licenses we have, right? For example, we've now got the income tax license to enable you to file taxes automatically, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the part of it. What we learn is if you're in the financial services space, keep yourself regulated, engage with the regulators, do the right thing, don't do anything in the gray, be black and white. The minute you start deciphering, हाँ ये gray में है, कुछ कर लेते हैं, some rock is going to hit you.
Being a user of all three of your apps very avidly, one thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of emphasis on a really good user experience. And so I wanted to ask, like, whether it's something that you think of as a competitive advantage, or is it more of a foundational requirement? And secondly, how do you see that aspect of businesses changing with the rise of agenting? As you just mentioned, that the mobile app economy will be disrupted. So how do you see that user experience part of it changing?
Yeah, so I think for me, honestly, we all as entrepreneurs like good design, right? But let's not get crazily obsessed about it. Let's define design by looking at data and say, where should the consumer and us as a company get better outcomes? So hence, looking at finally what are better conversion rates. Do you guys do courses around funnels and conversion rates? that's very, very critical for us, right? To really look at various funnels at various cohorts and various use cases, Android, iOS, etc. And that really defines the design. Not that design is defining everything. That's the first thing. Second thing is, yeah, I mean, I think, look, you're right, like our metrics will change, right? It'll be like, I guess our metrics would be what are the commands consumers are giving and how are they converting and what are the success rates. So those metrics will evolve and change as the world is changing. But long story short, I don't think design should be holding on the outcomes, right? It's like what outcomes you want to drive and then hence design. And finally, you want to keep things like at a philosophical level, I believe KR, low latency, simplicity, all of this finally delivers better conversions.
First of all, thank you so much, sir, for taking our time for all of us. My question, I was thinking about the conversation you were having about if this problem is big enough to solve for. So my question is, how do you know that particular number, or what is big enough for you to solve for? Is my question.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think you'll have to essentially. So there are two ways, right? One is that there is a large market that already exists, or there is a possibility for the market to exist, right? So I guess before Uber, there was no gig economy market that existed, but or before Airbnb, maybe there was no similar kind of market that existed. But there would be some kind of a substitution effect, right? So that substitution effect will kind of give you a proxy of, can this be a large market? So, yeah, I hope that answered, right? Like, for example, in our case, the substitution effect was, is there a market of people who invest? Because obviously nobody's going to go and buy an Apple if the person is completely unfamiliar. Is there, what is the penetration? And where is this going, right? So if it's only 3% of India, or the penetration or the ratio of savings to capital markets is low, then clearly it establishes the fact that it's a very large market.
Let me ask that same question in a different sort of way. Should we only, and this question comes up in a lot of our conversations, and I would have spoken to a lot of you guys about it, think of like large scaled up businesses, or can I start, let's say, a smaller pizza joint, right? And then I'm always conflicted what to say.
So I can give you an example and then I'll also answer this question. So I can give you an example of a company called 361.
Oh.
IFL, it was called IFL.
Yeah, we just had their team today here.
Okay. So that company, guess how many customers it has?
500?
नहीं, इतने कम नहीं है, 8,000 customers हैं, right? And that company is $3-4 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
40,000 crores market cap.
Right, so $4 billion, right, almost. And that company, guess it gets its revenue from top 500 customers, 90%, right? And it's built a valuable business. So that's the first answer, right? So that's if you want to build a large institutional valuable business, which you can also build with very less customers, right? The second thing is that, look, you could say that I want to build a passion business, a boutique business, which means you say I want to build the best coffee shop in Cyber Green or whatever, the Cyber City, Cyber Park. The best coffee shop, where the best conversations happen and the best music play. And every week I'll also get the best DJ to play some very nice music. That's what I want to build. And I want to ensure that helps me to have a good monthly lifestyle. That's my ambition. And then after a while, I'll open another coffee shop, etc., etc. That's another approach to take. Now, whether that goes and becomes a national phenomena or it remains your boutique business, that's fine. So that approach is also not bad. But there, you're not building an org. You're building more your, ambition. You don't want to impact the lives of millions of people. You want to impact the lives of fewer people. So that's another mindset altogether. Nothing wrong with the mindset.
And I think it's people are often confused, right? It's not as clear in their minds whether it's A or B. Right? They want A, but they're stuck in B, or they want B, but they're stuck in A. I think that's the clarity that I think you have to pursue, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, there could also be situations where a lot of folks could start with something which is boutique-ish, learn from it, and then go into something which is building institutional. So there are different routes you will take, right? There is no single right or wrong answer. You could work in a company like INDmoney, learn, and then start. So different routes. You could start from here and right after this, and then build something very valuable.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I think you guys are super energized bunch of people. Thank you for having me over.
Thank you for coming. But really, I appreciate. I'm sure this is a busy time for you,
Yeah, no,
given everything.
It
But
was fun catching up with all of you and wishing everybody all the best.
Thank you so much.